All right, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76 Entertainment and Media. First of all, please like this stream, please share it, and please subscribe if you're watching it live, and also if you're watching on the playback. This is my smallest channel, but I'm streaming to Facebook today because I think this is something that everybody can enjoy and will enjoy, depending upon who watches it. And I think with the guests I have today, we're gonna have a really good time. So I did introduce myself by my government name, but as you can see today, I am Green Lantern Jon Stewart, as I'm wearing my Green Lantern shirt. So I'm going with the alias today. We did a live stream about a month ago talking about whether or not Christian Bale was the worst Batman. And that day I was Lucius Fox. So a little bit of role play. So as you know, the Snyder Cut, the Justice League Snyder Cut was released about a month ago. Yeah, about a month ago. Give me 1 second here. I thought I had that picture queued up. Yeah, so the Snyder Cut was released about a month ago. And a lot of people were looking for this, and a lot of people were waiting for this. And it was a really, really big deal for reasons that I will discuss shortly. Let me just check my image here on YouTube. When you're broadcasting on StreamYard, your image can look good on your backstage, but StreamYard is broadcasting to YouTube. So okay, yeah, that looks good. I look decent in my Green Lantern shirt. So the Snyder Cut was a really, really big deal, based upon the way the Joss Whedon cut was released. And so a lot of people were waiting for that. Regarding myself, I've said numerous times on this channel and on my other channels that I have a background and an interest in superheroes. I grew up with superheroes, and I grew up collecting Batman, and actually watching things like the Justice League. I mean, the Justice League going back to the Hanna-Barbera days. But one of the most powerful books or graphic novels that I ever read was actually this book here, Kingdom Come, which I have in my collection right now. My brother turned me on to this. And so I was looking with great interest to see what the Whedon cut was like. And it turned out that I have HBO Max through my cable provider. I was able to download HBO Max and watch the movie that way. So my guests, I have some esteemed guests who are very passionate about this as well, and I'm going to bring them up shortly. But I'm going to ready things with a short little monologue here about this Zack Snyder cut. So what's interesting about the Snyder cut is that when DC started rolling out their movies, Marvel had already begun rolling out their movies. And so Marvel masterfully was able to roll their characters out one by one. The Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. And then what they were able to do was assemble them all into one team. And they were all able to get us to just kind of believe in what they were doing. And they were able to get us to go along for their ride. And in addition to introducing that original six, they sprinkled in Falcon and War Machine and Ant-Man and Wanda and Vision, and and all those other characters, they were able to just grow it in a very, very logical way. But DC took a bit of a different approach. And in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of a lot of other people, the way they rolled everything out, it was more jumbled and it was more clumsy and it was more, it just didn't seem to make sense. We had a Man of Steel movie to start things off. And then we didn't get a standalone Ben Affleck Batman movie. They gave us Man of Steel, then they gave us Batman versus Superman, and then they just rolled out the entire Justice League. And then the Justice League movie that they rolled out, which was the Joss Whedon cut, I think everybody was looking at it like, what the hell was that? What for reasons we're going to talk about. And it just they didn't roll everything out the same way that Marvel did. As I'm sure it will come up in my discussion with my guests. One of the things I particularly didn't appreciate was the fact that they killed Superman off at the end of Batman versus Superman. And I would have preferred for them to go a series of movies, getting us used to the lineup together, taking on numerous villains, as opposed to killing off the main guy right away. But that's what Warner Brothers, and that's what they decided to do. There was a lot of politics, it turns out, over on the DC side. And a lot of things going on behind the scenes. This seems to happen quite a bit in these at these studios. Marvel Lucasfilm has had its share of politics, and Zack Snyder shot the original version of this, and then they brought Joss Whedon in. I just saw an article on that recently, but all that politics led to the original film that we saw with the things like the Henry Cavill mouth. All of that was because of the politics that was happening behind the scenes, and it affected the movie that we saw. So there were murmurings about the Zack Snyder cut. I started hearing them late last year that finally they rolled it out, and I thought it lived up to the billing, and I thought that it was very, very good. And I wondered why they didn't do that in the first place. So with that, I'm going to bring my guests up, and we're going to talk about the Snyder Cut. We're probably about a month after everyone else, but I thought this would be most fun to do it with the group of guys who I am about to bring up, who are independent filmmakers themselves, and they have a passion for superhero films themselves. And I'm going to bring them up, the SWAT Media Group, and we're going to get this thing started. So I'm going to start with my brother Amal here. What's going on, bro?
How are you, bro? It's good to be here.
Antonio Lepore.
Hi there.
And Matt Shafrodin.
Hey, guys.
Hello there.
Welcome. How you guys doing today?
Good, man.
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay. Well, I just shared that you guys are the SWAT Media Group, and you guys are independent filmmakers, and you guys actually did create a film of your own a few years ago, Space Detective, and I have the trailer queued up. I thought it'd be cool if we took a look at it and you guys said a few words about it before we jumped into the Snyder Cut. Is that cool?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sounds great. Oh, I can't see Matt.
Just going to enable my screen share here. All right. Fair use, YouTube. Fair use. Fair use. There it is.
Well, we own the copyright anyway, so you have our permission.
So I will enable the full screen like that.
Oh, shit.
All right, here we go. Hold on, let me get the sound going. So I will enable the full screen. Hold on a second, guys. Hold on. All right, here we go. Because I have my let me click this one. Okay, I'm gonna mute that one. Okay, now here we go. Everyone, that was the trailer for Space Detective. You guys want to say a few words about that?
Yeah, the movie looks pretty cool.
Hold on a second.
After billions of dollars of investment and research by the world's top technology companies, electrical engineers have created brand new solar technology.
All right, go ahead.
The movie looks pretty cool. It's like my entire 30 summed up into 2 minutes.
It's nice to come back to that. Sorry, Tony.
No, I was just about essentially to say the same thing. I'm really proud of that. I haven't watched it in a while, and it's really cool. I'm really proud of what Matt and myself and you, Amal and Charlie and Marcus and Rico and Aaron all pulled off. It's pretty impressive when you think about it. All the stuff that we did, just the 7 of us and some satellite swampers pulled off. I mean, it's pretty neat. I miss making it. It holds up, yeah, and I miss making it. I spent so long making it that I just I found myself a little down for a while after, and I kept working on it for like 3 years after it was done. I mean, because I did all the marketing and stuff, and Matt and I went on tour with it pretty much, and when I finally put out like the YouTube version last year, that was it, and I'm just like, oh, now what? So I'm excited to get to work on new stuff, I guess. Because I miss working on it every day, but I'm excited for new stuff.
I don't miss working on it. I'm glad it's done.
I also agree with him a little bit.
For me, it's nice to see that artwork after so many years. It still holds up. It's nice to see the scenes and the artwork that I did not work on. Those are always easier for me to watch. When I see my work in the trailer or in the movie, I kind of cringe a little bit. But Tony and Matt were really smart with where to edit the stuff that I did so that it looked the best. But yeah, whenever I see that stuff, I get little butterflies. So
I love the stuff they did them all.
Yeah,
all that nightclub stuff is fantastic.
And that's usually everybody's favorite stuff too. They're like, "Wow, that nightclub is crazy." Yeah.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The neat thing is people are still discovering it. Like, like my boss at work just watched it and he was just like floored.
Wow.
He couldn't stop talking about it. And now he calls me Space Dick.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And
People respond. I mean, like, we've gotten a couple naysayers, but for the most part, when people like it, they go bananas for it. So I think people are going to be, tuning into it for a while. We developed a TV show version of it that we were going to try to pitch last year, but then COVID just, pooped on everything. But I think we're going to try to do that again. Maybe we wrote a video game too. Like, we've got more Space Detective to show, but like, we're just waiting to see someone wants to pay for it, because I don't want to do 10 years again without getting paid. But I think I want to do more with it. I think we can do more with it. It's really neat stuff. And you can tell I love talking about it.
And for everyone that I know that has seen it, they always ask what happens next. What happens to Shiro? I mean, who was the half human, half bird chick Shiro was talking to at the end of the movie? People want to know what happens next. Also, shout out to Marcus and Rico, because the music is amazing. Whenever I watch it, I'm always thinking, the music is great.
Yeah,
the music is so well done.
Yeah.
One of the festival directors we stay friendly with, the one from Miami, he's like, it's like one of my favorite albums. I play that stuff in the car.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I see you're representing there, Amal, with shirt.
Anytime I'm on vacation, or if I know I'm going to be on camera, this has got to be clean and ready. So.
Yeah. And you can get that shirt and others like it at spacedetectivemovie.com.
That's right.
Okay, so
the three of us are representing the Justice League. Looks like Green Lantern. I got Superman. Tony, you're wearing a Batman shirt. Yeah.
So guys, just
I am.
You want to plug that? There's a Space Detective website.
Yeah, you can go to spacedetectivemovie.com and find everything you possibly could want about Space Detective. You can watch it there. You can buy a Blu-ray version of it. It's got some neat behind-the-scenes stuff. You can get T-shirts, and you can also, even one of my cool features is there's a database of all the characters and stuff. You can like kind of read through and get some background material on them, and you can watch the movie on Amazon Prime. That's probably the best version of the movie. It's the only where you can get the good surround sound on it. And but spacedetectivemovie.com is your home for all your Space Detective needs, or look us up on social media using the hashtag Space Detective.
Okay. Well, before we jump into the Snyder Cut, I don't know if you guys remember, but when I interviewed you guys, I interviewed Tony and Matt first in print, and then I did a follow-up after they finished working on the film. But I was in such a hurry when I was packing for that trip. I ordered my Space Detective shirt, and the plane was somewhere over Texas, and I realized I left the shirt on my ironing board. It's still sitting. I was going to wear the shirt during the interview, but it's back home. So, I was thinking about that earlier. Okay. All right, guys. Well,
it's a cool looking shirt.
It isn't. Yeah, mine has Shiro and Jinx on it.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one. I'm proud of those designs, by the way. You can get at the website. Those are really neat. I need to get one. I don't have one of the Shiro and Jinx.
Okay.
My favorite image is the one where it's like the side of him like this with the gun. That's on our business cards. That's pretty much the official Shiro. If there was a comic book, I think he would be like that in the corner box.
Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to pull your website up so everyone can see it.
Okay. That making the website, I'm proud of it, but it was the least fun thing we did on the movie. Ooh, it was a headache.
Wow.
It's Space Detective Movie, right?
Yeah, spacedetectivemovie.com.
Okay. Give me it's loading right now. There's actually a spacedetective.com, which is something else.
There is a spacedetective.com, and it's like some weirdo's blog. Yeah.
Yeah, Lance Lewis.
Yeah, we tried to buy it from him, but we couldn't get it. He never responded. If we get, we sell this, if we sell it to Netflix, I'm sure they can afford to buy it.
I think he does he sells land or something. Like he looks for land to sell. Space detective.
Oh, that's terrible. He should be estate detective then.
Okay, there it is. Let's do my screen share right now.
There's actually several space detectives. There's an old 50s.
Yeah, there was a couple old-timey pulpy stuff, and there was a TV show in England or something called that 30 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. There it is. The Space Detective Movie. That's the protagonist, Shira. And yeah, there it is. All right. spacedetectivemovie.com. All right. Well, gentlemen, let's jump in to the Snyder Cut. So the wallpaper, I have a bunch of questions which you guys have seen, but the wallpaper I used for this one is actually of Darkseid. And that's one of the things that stood out to me about this, is that we actually had a real villain. So with that, we'll just go around, and once we finish up, if some folks in the chat want to come in and join us, we'll do that. But we'll just go around and hear what you guys think. So the first question is for the Snyder Cut. What did you think about the Snyder Cut versus the Joss Whedon cut? So Amal, you can go first.
Sure. Well, I think for the fans, the Joss Whedon cut looked like Joss and his team and the execs at Warner Brothers didn't read the comics. The movie lacked a soul. And when fans left the theater, they left the theater feeling like they wanted their money back. It just looked to me like they rushed through it, and it left fans wanting to know what Zack Snyder's vision was. So,
okay. And essentially, did you think that the Snyder Cut was more? It was more filled out. It was more complete.
Absolutely. I mean, with Zack Snyder's vision, you got to see everything that was in his head, including how important it was when Superman died at the end of Batman versus Superman. You see that at the beginning of the Snyder Cut, his yell or his cries of pain and agony were heard underwater, were heard around the world. Even the mother boxes were woken up by Superman, crying out in pain. So the movie was 4 hours. It was four good hours, but there was a lot of detail. That was in Zack's mind that we actually got to see in this longer cut, in the better cut. Trust me. So.
Okay, Tony, how about you? What did you think about the Snyder Cut versus the Whedon cut?
It was longer. I liked it more. I liked it more. I'm always, the first time I see these things, I always like them because I've been in the tank for this stuff since I was a little kid. So I always find something to enjoy the first time I watch it. And I enjoyed that Joss Whedon version the first time. And then I watched it again and realized, man, this movie is terrible. It was pretty bad. when you watch that version, it's just pretty much like they just hired Joss Whedon to come in and make it the Avengers. Just do what you did on that to this, and it doesn't really work. Because the characters have already been set up to be a little bit more serious, and then got Batman cracking more jokes. But I don't know. The Snyder version is more complete, I guess. There's more things there to enjoy. You can definitely tell that these are his iterations of the characters. And when you watch the Whedon version, you can tell that someone else is tinkering with somebody else's version. Does that make sense? That you can definitely see someone trying to tweak somebody else's vision in there. And Amal said it best, it's rushed. You can tell that it's rushed, and that mustache thing is ridiculous, and there's a lot to hate about it. Although I did the one thing about the Whedon cut that thing. Oh Jesus! The one thing I did like about the Whedon cut, even though it had the awful mouth, is that it had that little shot of Superman talking to the little kids on their phone, and that was kind of neat because you don't really see Henry Cavill's Superman doing stuff like that. And I think that's what his Superman generally suffers from the most. They lean really heavily on the Christ imagery with him. He's dying, his arms are stretched out, and all this stuff like that. But they did that with Brandon Routh's Superman too, where they had him when he was hurt. He was arms stretched out like Jesus and stuff. But they never lean into the suffer the little children aspect of Jesus with Superman. They never show him with the little kids and having a hot dog and stuff like this, kind of like wholesomeness stuff. Christopher Reeve was the only one who did that. With him yanking the cat out of the tree in the first movie, or saving the kid from Niagara Falls in the second one. There's that aspect that they ignore with Henry Cavill Superman that I think Joss Whedon tried to inject into it. It just didn't work. But as for the Snyder Cut, it has Darkseid in it, and that's pretty much enough for me to go, okay, I want this version more because I love Darkseid. I don't know why they went with Steppenwolf to begin with. That's kind of lame. And these movies seem to do that a lot. They go with a second banana villain in the first movie, and then we're saving the big one for the next one. And that's kind of stupid. Just because they did it in The Dark Knight doesn't mean they need to do that in everything. I think they should have either led with Darkseid or led with the Legion of Doom. That's what people wanted to see, but they had to start with Steppenwolf for some reason. That was stupid. And it was nice to see Darkseid, but he never really showed up. It's just they just kind of just plugged him in flashbacks and that boom tube shot at the end. But anyways, what I'm saying is I prefer the Snyder Cut. It's 4 hours long, and it didn't need to be 4 hours long. If they would have cut out some of the slow motion, if they would have cut out 20 minutes, and there's an hour of slow motion in that movie. But it's better, it's more complete. It's definitely more epic, and I'm glad he got to complete his vision. It's too bad it leaves you with a cliffhanger that will probably never get resolved, but it is what it is. I can go on for hours. Let's ask Matt what he thinks.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah, I have that effect.
I liked it. I mean, when I first saw the trailer, the Joss Whedon cut, I was like, wow, this is kind of a jumbled mess here. And then after watching the Snyder cut, it's like, wow, this is just a longer jumbled mess. So, I liked it, but it did seem a little long at some times. And with a 4 hour version, obviously you're going to get more story. You're just naturally getting more story with 4 hours. But it was, what it's like, what it reminds me of? It's like, the Whedon cut is like, it's like ordering a hamburger, right? And then the Joss Whedon cut is like a fast food hamburger. And then the Snyder cut is like a nice burger at a restaurant that you order medium rare, and then it comes out well done, and you're just like, yeah, okay. I'll still eat it, So there was a lot of story. There was a lot of story there, mashed into one movie, and that was the thing with this movie versus like Avengers. Like Avengers, you had several movies beforehand to kind of set up these characters and get to know them and get all that story out of the way, and then the story about them coming together. Whereas this one was both of those things. It was setting up half of these characters and then getting them together, and then we got to throw in that, oh yeah, by the way, Superman's dead, so we got to do this whole thing with getting him back together. And so it was like there was a lot going on. There was almost too much going on, and even in a 4-hour version, it was still like all mashed together. But I still enjoyed it. I mean, it was still good. I'd watch it again.
Okay. Well, since you mentioned the Avengers,
I watched it again, and it was a long day. I watched it again yesterday, and I took notes, all that stuff, and yeah, it's 4 hours long, and it's not Lawrence of Arabia, so it's just like, it's not bad though. It's entertaining.
Since you mentioned the Avengers, there were some people who felt like it surpassed the Avengers movies. How'd you guys feel about that? Do you think it was better than any of the 4 Avengers movies, or
no? The Avengers movie is a better Avengers movie than Justice League being a Justice League movie. I think the Avengers. I think those characters are, they're obviously more set up. I think they're closer to what they are, like in the comic book version, versus the Justice League, which is kind of, Zack Snyder's own version. There's hints of the comics, there's hints of their original characters, but I don't know. It's a little more. It's a little too different from the comics versus the Avengers, which is fairly close as far as their personalities and whatnot.
Yeah, I like the DC characters more. I always have. I love them, and the Marvel characters, I enjoy them. But the Marvel movies are better made. There's more. They run their movie division like they run the comic book division. You know what I mean? Like that mentality of the way they've run the comics goes into the movies. There's like an editorial board who supervises the films. Like DC doesn't really have that. They're more like individual films made by individual filmmakers, and there's a studio rep that handles them. But Marvel has Kevin Feige, and his team is literally an editorial staff, like the comics. I mean, there's literally a boss staff, and they dictate. There's a story room. There's all this stuff. They have retreats. They figure out the course of their cinema, their cinema story for the next umpteen years. And DC, I think they seem to take it. Warner Brothers takes it on a per project basis, and so creating a cohesive universe for them to all operate in has never really been their priority. They seem to be like half-assing it almost as far as that department. Granted, you get more neat individual fare like Joker and whatever this new Batman movie coming out is going to be, but there's no universe. And I don't know, the Marvel stuff is just, they're really good at doing the movies. Even though I like the DC characters more, they're really good at doing the movies there. Although I am a little tired of them, to be honest. They're kind of like we're the same thing after a while, and I don't feel the need to rewatch them, but I feel the need to watch every single one of them so I don't miss out what's going on. If that makes any sense.
Well, you go ahead. I'll ask Tony later.
I was only going to say that because the Marvel movies are laid out so far in advance. It's just easier for Marvel to create this longer story with all these characters. As Tony said, with the DC movies, they're handled on a project per project basis, and the audience doesn't really feel as though that world is connected. But the the world of Green Lantern is also the world of Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey. I mean, that's the same world, but the audience doesn't feel that. So as an audience member, I want to know, not just through reading the comics, that all these DC movies are the same world.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think the MCU did a good job of letting us know that they were all together, in the same world.
Also, I think those Marvel characters are more dependent on each other than the DC characters, because if you look at, like, I don't know, for me personally, like, you know, Captain America's individual universe is still dependent on his work with the Avengers, or his work with Shield, or his relationship with other characters and so on. Whereas Batman's universe is huge on his own. Superman's universe is huge on his own. Maybe that's the case, I don't know. Or even Spider-Man's universe is kind of big on his own. He doesn't really need the rest of that Marvel universe to have a big, expansive mythology. I don't know. It's just, maybe I'm just kind of rambling here, but I kind of feel like the Avengers universe needs the rest of that Marvel universe to stick together, and the DC characters could theoretically operate on their own and still be huge and rich.
Okay. Sonny, before we go to the next question, can you go back to what you said about you felt like the Avengers movie were all the same? The movies were all the same movie. What do you mean by that?
I feel like they've made that first Iron Man movie like 10 times. Like, the formula is so perfect that it's almost impossible not to apply that to all their movies. But I mean, Ant-Man and Iron Man, they're really they play very similarly. And I don't know. I just feel like the Marvel movies, kind of, Doctor Strange and Iron Man play very similar. You know, kind of jerky guy, gets powers and has a change of heart and tells jokes and looks good the whole way through. And that's cool. But I mean, a Doctor Strange movie could have started with him being Doctor Strange for 50 years already, and you could tell his movie flashback. You know, but I think their structure is just so ingrained that a lot of their films kind of follow that. Especially
isn't that like just the structure of an origin movie? Like,
yeah, no, you're right. It is. It's just the archetype and stuff. But I just feel like Marvel, like,
and also,
I don't know. It's just
these movies. I think the Avengers movies, especially more so than the Justice League movies, I think the Avengers movies are geared a little more towards like a younger audience.
Yeah, that's true. He is right. They are for kids.
So you kind of need that, like, not really hold their hand through it, but it's like, you don't want to get too complicated, you know, for younger minds. You want them to be able to enjoy it and understand what's going on, and then, you know, follow it from movie to movie versus, like, you know, Justice League. I can't imagine like a 7-year-old watching Justice League and knowing what's going on. It's like nuts.
And it does kind of annoy me that a 7-year-old shouldn't watch Justice League.
Right.
That I mean, I agree with you there. It does kind of bother me. That does bother me. I mean, I enjoy watching Batman Cursed, but I would rather, you know, Matt's 5-year-old nephew will be able to watch Batman than for me to watch Batman. I've had my whole life to enjoy that. And it's really, these are kids' characters at the beginning of the day.
Yeah, they're like dropping F-bombs, and you're just like, okay, maybe some kids shouldn't be watching this.
I mean, in a perfect world, there would be Batman movies for kids and Batman movies for adults.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I honestly didn't look at it that way. That the DC movies were more for adults as opposed to kids.
And you know, growing up, I always felt that was kind of, I don't know. Well, I guess I grew up in the era of the Dark Knight Returns and Killing Joke and Arkham Asylum, so we all grew up in that time frame where DC Comics somehow got serious. When I was a little boy, it was the Super Friends. But yeah, DC's have been geared for adults, but the comics are geared for everybody. You know, and the cartoons they make are fantastic. You know, the DC animated stuff is better than the Marvel live action stuff. At least the classic DC animated stuff. But again, I could talk about this all day.
Okay. All right. Well, I talked about in the opening, one of the things I really enjoyed about the Snyder Cut was the villain. I think that obviously in a superhero movie, the villain is very, very important. And in the Whedon cut, it just didn't. That Steppenwolf, it didn't sell. So I really enjoyed having the dark side, and even the movie leaving off with a little bit of mystery about, okay, they're gonna see this guy again somewhere. So I enjoyed that, and as Amal said, the opening where you could see the Superman's cry reverberate around the world, I thought that was powerful. Were there things in particular that you guys really, really liked about this one? Was it the backstory for Cyborg? Was it the Henry Cavill mouth being gone? Was it? Yeah.
I like
Darkseid.
I like more of the Cyborg. Like you definitely got more backstory from Cyborg, which I enjoyed. It's almost like there's almost like a Cyborg movie in that movie. You know what I mean? Like you could almost take everything that Cyborg did and just kind of recut a Cyborg movie out of it. So I like that. Yeah, and his relationship with his dad was much more fleshed out. But yeah, I mean, as far as the villains, like Steppenwolf, he's just like there, I guess. Well, like in the Whedon cut, he didn't really have, like, I don't know what his deal was in the Whedon cut. I'm like, okay, you show up and you want to kill everybody and you want to get the boxes, okay, like, for what? Like, what are you trying to do again? And whereas in this one, like, he had more of a story. Like, he was trying to get back on the Darkseid's good side, and he was like trying to do this for him. So like there was more there for him, and there was more of you could understand more of what Steppenwolf's intention was, as far as like his relationship with Darkseid. So I thought that was interesting. But you still could have made just made a Darkseid, with 3 or 4 lackeys like Steppenwolf and Calabac and whoever else.
Yeah, I miss Calabac. I love Calabac. Darkseid's big dumb son.
I think what I really enjoyed was just some of the attention to detail. Like when Aquaman left that Nordic, Eastern European village, and he was talking to Batman, and he took off his coat and his sweater, and he got in the water, and the village was standing by the shore, and he started to sing Aquaman a song. I love that. And when that one blonde teenager picked up Aquaman's sweater, and she hugged it, and then she smelled it, I was like, oh my gosh. Like that moment kind of, grounds that world for those people, for that village. Aquaman's real. Seeing Bruce Wayne get off of a really expensive looking helicopter to then get onto a really expensive looking plane was really good. I mean, some of those details that were in Zack Snyder's head made the movie better. Also, getting to see Diana Prince or Wonder Woman kind of have that moment where you saw her do her job. It's her job to go in the caves like Lara Croft or Indiana Jones, and to find ancient artifacts and to read ancient writings on walls. That's her job. So to see her do that was better for me than what I saw in the first 2 Wonder Woman movies. Is actually getting to see Diana Prince do her job. Some of those details. Sorry, Matt.
They were definitely more fleshed out. That's for sure. I mean, with a 4-hour version, you can do that. You could see more of their character and more of other people's reactions. I can only imagine that girl smelling a sweater and just going, seawater.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure if Jason Momoa took off a sweater anywhere, a woman would pick it up and smell it.
Wow. Probably right.
It's like every opportunity they could for that guy to take his shirt off in slow motion, they took it.
Yeah, there was even one point where
here, I'm Jason Momoa. I'm going to be dripping wet taking off this sweater.
He comes out of the ocean with the shirt, and then he has this little scene, and then he goes back into the ocean and he takes his shirt off, and I'm like, you came from the water with that shirt. Why are you taking it off to jump back in the water? I don't understand. Any opportunity, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, right, he is the world's handsomest man, I guess. You know what I liked? I liked the Flash stuff. Because I just love the Flash. Although it's funny that there's a bunch of Flash stuff and it's all in slow motion. But I thought it was pretty neat. I love the girl who plays Iris. I've seen her in what was she? She was in the movie Dope, and she was in the movie the Neighbors Part 2, where she was a sorority girl. But she was she's just adorable. But I love that actor, that Ezra. Was it Ezra Miller?
Yeah,
he's really good. He's just a delightful actor. He's just so much fun, and I like what Amal was talking about. All the extra detail that was in there was really neat. I mean, because like the Flash just gave you a bunch of detail in there. Like he was Jewish. I never knew that before. And just the little things in his office is pretty cool. Although I think it's kind of funny that Bruce Wayne shows up at his place. And he's like, I don't know what powers you have, but let me throw this batarang at your head. And why does Bruce Wayne always seem to drive around in the Batmobile, regardless if he's Batman or not? Because his Mercedes, you saw that, you'd be like, ooh, Batman's driving that. And he did it in The Dark Knight, too. The Dark Knight, he was driving around in a Lamborghini, a black Lamborghini called the Murcielago, which translates to bat. So what are you going to do? I liked also when that Wonder Woman scene with the little kids at the beginning. Joss Whedon reshot that scene shot for shot because it's the exact same scene in the first movie, but it just looks different and behaves differently. So you can definitely, if you want to compare, that's the scene to compare because it's a completely reshot sequence. Because in the Whedon cut, it's not as violent and stuff, and in Snyder's it is. But I loved watching her do the thing with her bracelets. And it's neat seeing superheroes do superhero stuff in real time because they always seem to slow down, especially Snyder, slow down the camera to slow motion to give you those comic book panel shots of them doing the really cool stuff. But it was neat to see her do that superhero stuff in real time, see what it would actually look like, to see Wonder Woman bouncing around deflecting bullets. It was cool. But what I liked the most was the Darkseid stuff. Darkseid stuff. Just getting to see Darkseid and Granny Goodness and Desaad, even if just for snippets, was great. It's because I love that Jack Kirby Fourth World stuff so very much. The New Gods is my dream movie. I love those characters. So to see Darkseid finally was awesome, and have him look and behave and sound like Darkseid. I love the way that the Omega on his chest was kind of like bone, or it was branded in there, and they kind of made you like that Darkseid, that Omega symbol. I got the feeling that it wasn't based on Greek writing, that Greek writing was based on it. Like he showed up to Earth, and that Darkseid symbol of the Omega stuck until the Greeks created their own language and used that symbol as their final letter. Stuff like that detail I thought was neat, but seeing the Darkseid stuff just made me happy. And I liked that nightmare thing at the end. Because if you could do a movie around that, or in the end of the film, the Flash goes back in time and fixes everything, that could really work. There's a great Grant Morrison, Howard Porter storyline from the late 90s called Rock of Ages from their JLA comic, which is the greatest superhero run ever, I think. And it was in a future where Darkseid took over, and one or two of the characters had gotten stuck in the future, and they had to figure out a way how to kill Darkseid and go back in time and fix everything. It could work. I like that, and I like that scene with Jared Leto. He was really good as the Joker there, and he was a lot better than he was in Suicide Squad. So yeah, but the Darkseid stuff, I want a whole movie of Darkseid. I'm not gonna get it, but I do love it.
I liked Flash
Question.
too. You know, I like how he was lighthearted, but my only issue was that he was the only lighthearted one. Everybody else was so serious. You know, it's like all the jokes were just given to him, and it was like, okay, like everybody else is, you know, so serious, and everybody else is like a Debbie Downer, and he's the only jokester. Like, I don't know. They could have spread that out a little bit.
I felt like the Flash and Cyborg could have had a better relationship. It seemed like, you know, oh, there they are. They're the same age. They should be friends. You know, they should have had a scene where the Flash, you know, pals around with Cyborg and tries to cheer him up a little bit. You know, Cyborg's has a very difficult moment, so I would assume that his buddy his own age would be like, hey, let's play video games or something.
Mm-hmm. So quick question, guys. So Matt and Tony, you guys have read more comics than me. Can the Martian Manhunter project thoughts into people's heads?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking that it's possible that he was giving Bruce those dreams. Because
that's interesting.
Because in the end credit scene, Bruce is having a nightmare, and when he wakes up, he walks outside, and Martian Manhunter knows his address and just shows up and lands. So I was thinking, wow, is he putting those dreams in Bruce's head, or is Bruce just having those dreams?
I thought it was a time echo. From the Flash's meandering about through the timeline. You know,
okay.
I'll tell you this. He projected a thought in me, which was, why didn't you show up in the last couple of movies? I mean, General Zod shows up and nearly destroys the world, and you're just, you know, hanging out, you know, or like, and you don't show up. Like, where you been?
And he was there. That character, that General Swanwick guy, was in the first movie. He had. Why didn't he march out?
Yeah.
I like the fact
Why didn't he show up here? Why didn't he show up here with Steppenwolf and all those guys?
And you know, originally that was Jon Stewart and Kilowog. And I said the guy who played Jon Stewart, he just tweeted a shot of it today, actually, of him on the set in Zack Snyder's driveway, filming in front of a green screen, with the motion cap suit on. And Warner Brothers asked him to change it. They didn't want them to use Green Lantern. Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was Jon Stewart and Kilowog, I think, just for that instead of John Jones, the Martian Manhunter. But there's a Green Lantern movie coming out in the works with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, like a Lethal Weapon type of thing. And then there's a TV show for HBO Max with the rest of the Green Lantern, with Alan Scott and Guy Gardner and Jessica Cruz and who's the other, Simon Baz, the other new one, the Latina girl and the Latinx girl and the guy is of Middle Eastern descent, but he's American. But you know, nice. They're relaunching the Green Lanterns and they don't want them to use it. I don't know. I miss Jon Stewart. He's my favorite one. I like Alan Scott a lot too because his costume was always ridiculous. But I missed the Green Lantern in this a lot. Like, I like Cyborg and I liked his story, but like, you know, a Justice League without Green Lantern is just weird to me.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, I like the fact that they did push to try to further broaden the group, and that they did bring in the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
And when I saw the transformation initially, I was looking like, oh, that's the Martian Manhunter. And at the end, I thought it was Superman who was coming to see Bruce. But then when he landed, I was like, yeah, that's the Martian Manhunter.
I've always liked the Martian Manhunter. Yeah, he looked cool. It's weird though, like why does the Martian? They do this on that Supergirl show too, but why does the Martian Manhunter need to be a CG character? Why can't they just put a guy in, like? I'm pretty sure that you can pull that look off with makeup. I don't know. I've only made 1 or 2 movies, but I'm pretty sure that Martian Manhunter look they did could have been makeup. He didn't need to be a cartoon character. And like what's so the green makeup and prosthetics on the guy's face? It's pretty simple. I don't know. I don't like even Darkseid. Like, why does Darkseid have to be a CG character? Why did Thanos have to be a CG character? I know they're huge, but you can still do makeup and camera trickery to make them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It bugs me that why do characters that a guy could play end up being CG characters? I don't get that. I mean, you could just cast a huge buff guy and then loop his voice. I don't know. That's just me. But I just feel like, I mean, Hellboy was a guy in a costume. Why does the Martian Manhunter? I don't know. It bugs me. It was like, why was Green Lantern's suit a CG costume in that movie? That looked terrible.
I like that. I liked it.
Did you really? Oh.
Yeah. I liked how it was like his muscles and it was like sinewy and it was neat. The only thing I didn't like was that mask. I was just watching the Green Lantern movie the whole time. The whole time I'm like, your nostrils are showing. Like, that's not his mask. Yeah.
So
I'm surprised they could have just busted out Ryan Reynolds in that and everybody would have been fine.
So guys, we're coming up on an hour. I have 2 more. Once we get through these, I see some people in the chat. I'll probably let up so they could say a few words. Is there anything you would change about the Snyder Cut?
Yes.
My brother answered that quick.
Yeah.
Okay, you go first. What would you change?
I would have started the Legion of Doom. I would have paired up Lex Luthor with Sinestro or Dr. Zoom, the Reverse Flash, possibly Black Manta. I would say throw in Black Adam because Black Adam would be a huge problem for Superman, but Black Adam probably wouldn't want to be on a team. So maybe pair up Lex with Sinestro, Dr. Zoom, and Black Manta. Also, I would have changed the final battle. I think having that final battle in an abandoned nuclear facility, I think the audience gets a little bit lost with the size and depth of that set. I would have preferred to have seen that final battle take place on top of an aircraft carrier, where maybe having access to the water, you could have got the Atlanteans a little more involved. Seeing the Atlanteans fight the parademons on top of an aircraft carrier with people and planes flying off and boom tubes dropping folks in. I think that could have been a little more fun, possibly, but that's just me.
Tony, Matt, anything you change? Cool, bro.
I would have made, like I said, more lighthearted, not just Flash. And I think I would have had more than just Steppenwolf. Like, he should have showed up with a couple of guys, because it's like there was one main villain for everybody to fight, and then all these parademon clones, and it's like Steppenwolf's pretty strong, but you put Superman and Flash and Cyborg, you put all those guys together, and clearly they're gonna beat him. But if like Calabac was there and someone else was there and someone else is there, then it was like, okay, you could kind of team up these bad guys with the heroes. I think it would have been more interesting. You would have gotten more like character development from Steppenwolf's and Darkseid's side. You would have seen more scenes with just those people talking together. I think that would have made it. That would have raised the stakes if there was more than just Steppenwolf and a clone of parademons.
Tony?
I would have either leaned heavy into the Darkseid thing and just, like Matt was talking, Darkseid and his cronies, just because it's Darkseid for God's sake. Or I would have, you'd have to go back and I would have leaned into what I'm also with the Legion of Doom. I would have given something that the audience hasn't seen before. And the audience has never seen all the good guys fighting all the bad guys they love. It's always, the Avengers versus no-name Thanos and his no-name cronies, or Ultron and his clones, or Loki and his crony, and his, CG monsters. But you never saw Batman fighting the Joker while Superman is fighting Bizarro, while Wonder Woman's fighting Cheetah, all at the same time. That's craziness. And that would be the biggest movie ever. And even Marvel hasn't done it. Marvel hasn't done a Masters of Evil or anything like that. It's always a big bad versus this army of superheroes.
But you also have to remember, like those villains. Those villains weren't created yet. Like Black Manta wasn't even created until the Aquaman movie came out.
Oh yeah.
Cheetah wasn't created until the Wonder Woman sequel. So I don't know. It was like.
Well, yeah. You'd have to read.
Those villains, but.
You have to redo the whole universe. I guess the whole Snyderverse, whatever the hell it is. I don't know what they're doing going forward. I would just reboot the whole thing.
That was going to be my last question / statement, is that I thought they did some good things, especially bringing in Martian Manhunter, but now what are they going to do with the whole thing? I mean, it sounds like Warner Brothers wants to put the clamps on this, and I'm hearing talk of a multiverse where the Flash is going into different multiverses, but what are they going to do with the whole thing now? You guys know?
Yeah. Well, I know the Flash is going, and he's going to go meet Michael Keaton. He's bouncing around the multiverse in his movie, and he ends up in the Batman '89 universe. So we're going to find out. Yeah, Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman.
And also the Robert Pattinson Batman now, right?
Yeah, and then the Robert Pattinson Batman, and then there's the Black Adam movie that has the JSA in it. Has Hawkman and Dr. Fate. Pierce Brosnan is playing Dr. Fate. Can you believe that? That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I know there's another Wonder Woman movie, but I would just reboot the whole. I just make a Justice League movie and just have a whole new Justice League, and I don't know. I've never been satisfied with any DC movie ever. I mean, I always love them when I first see them, but ultimately they never satisfy at all. Only the first Superman movie is the only truly satisfying one, and even then, Lex Luthor's running around with a wig the whole time. So I always love the DC characters more, but as of right now, Marvel makes better movies. Although when DC makes a good film, they make Joker's a great movie. The Dark Knight's a great movie. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just going on. I just want to see the Legion of Doom.
Okay.
Sure.
Charles, I threw the StreamYard link there in the chat if you want to come up and say a few words. You've been pretty vocal about this in the chat. Black Uber 2. So are you guys looking forward to the Robert Pattinson Batman?
Yeah, I am. I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, sure. That looks cool.
I like his suit. It looks cool. I like how, I saw in the trailer, he has the mask off and he's got the paint. He's got the mascara on his eyes. At least they address that. Every other Batman movie, you know, he's got the mascara around the eyes, but once he takes his mask off, it's like it's gone. Like what? At least with this Pattinson one, they're like, oh, okay, so he does paint his eyes underneath that mask. At least they, you know, commit to that.
Why can't he ever use the lenses? I never know. I'll never know why he can't use the white lenses on a Batman mask. It's so stupid that he does it.
It looks like from the trailer, it looks like there's going to be a tremendous attention to detail. I work in an auto shop, and there's a shot of the Batcave where the Batmobile is on a lift that only requires the driver to drive the car onto the lift. You don't got to move the arms under the car, which kind of speaks to how fast him and Alfred have to work on it and turn it over and get it ready for tomorrow night. When I saw that lift, I was like, okay, that's a good detail because they can work on it faster. Just
that car looks cool though.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
The guys meet Officer Charles Faulkner, one of Baltimore's finest. He's he's pretty enthusiastic about the Snyder Cut as well, and he's very into Thundercats and Pantheros. Charles, what say you about any of what we talked about today?
I just don't like it when people try to compare Marvel movies because Marvel movies get awfully campy. The most serious movie they ever really made was what? Winter Soldier.
They do.
And I'm like, that was the most seriously taken movie because that was basically the 2000 run. Captain America was about espionage. You literally forget it's a comic book movie because majority of the time he's not in costume. But when you look at Iron Man 2 and 3, it gets ridiculous. Like, we won't even mention 3. It's horrible. I'm still waiting for a good Thor movie.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
I'm even looking
Thor
at
movies are silly.
I compare Justice League to Avengers 1, to be fair, because it's both the first outings of both superhero teams. I'm supposed to be, and I always tell people, look, take off your lenses of the Marvel thing and be honest. And I like both movies, but I have to be honest. Who would I really be batshit scared of? Loki or Steppenwolf?
Steppenwolf.
So I'm gonna have a much more compelling villain. And think about it. If Steppenwolf is taxing our asses, think of what Darkseid is gonna do. It's kind of like that one play off of like all the villains you see, and you're like, wait a minute. If you took most of the guys you faced in Marvel, it will be like almost no match for, let's say you have a Green Lantern. You tell me Green Lantern can't handle Ultron by himself? Well, you have to look at it. I'm glad they did a 4-hour because I watched the entire 4 straight. And it fleshed out things like, wow, if I was Ray Fisher, I'd be pissed too because you basically cut my character 75% out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think
the
seriousness goes back to the how what I said earlier, how Avengers is geared towards a younger audience versus Justice League. Like in the Justice League movie, at the end of it, they cut off Steppenwolf's head. I don't think Avengers they would have done that to Loki.
They could have, but I mean, no. They did it in Ragnarok in the comics. Like
they cut off hands and they cut arms in the Marvel movies.
I look at it and I'm like, they're supposed to be dark. Well, it's not like Marvel. They're not supposed to be like Marvel. It's funny because I have girls I date, you love comics. I said, I can put this comic book in front of you and it's harder to read than I love novel. And she was like, how do you think? I said, you don't even know what the word augment means, do you? And it's actually funny because you get into these. I said, you know what? I'll give you Kingdom Come. I'll give you all 4 issues. I'll give you the novel Kingdom Come. And you'll come back to me. He'll come back to me with a drink and some philosophical questions and challenging your religion. Okay? There's certain books you just don't go there unless you're really ready for your religion to change. And when I look at DC, I'm like, okay, if you're gonna go dark, stay dark. Like you can't have the campiness. Even though I think the jokes rolled off better in this one than the first one, where you see, I want my Flash to be the bright light. He should be. He's the youngest member. He's the guy who's upbeat. And I mean, if you think about it, each one of the Justice Leaguers, have a really effed up life. Like you got an orphan alien, you got an orphan billionaire, you got a princess who can't go back home. Like, and the love of her life has been dead for almost 100 years. You have a guy who knows his father is innocent for murder, but he can't bust him out. Even though he has all the abilities to do it, he can't do it. Then you got the estranged father relationship, which as a black male in America, that touches you. Because a lot of young black men will grow up hating their fathers only because they hear one side of the story. Had to drop some deepness. And not saying that. And, thank God I had a great relationship. I still have a great relationship with my father after my parents divorced, but not so many children are that fortunate.
That's an interesting, that's a fascinating take.
Huh?
That's just a really strong take. I didn't even thought of that. That's pretty, yeah.
And then if you look at how once Cyborg took his manly role, he does something that every man has to do on the face of the earth. He understood his father. I'll give you a good example. When I came back home from Iraq, I always wondered why my father never talked about Vietnam much. And now I understood. And when I got home, we literally sat in the kitchen and talked for 8 hours straight. Time went that fast. So you can imagine he's doing his thing, hard charging. He's not as worried because he wasn't in the role of the father. Now you're the role of the father. So now your dark black raven hair is now turning gray because each moment you're just praying you don't get that call.
Wow.
So he understood his father, and I think that was a coming of age story for Cyborg because he finally get into his manhood, just like Flash. When he reversed back time, he had to become something bigger than himself.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Black Guru, do you want to say something about the Snyder Cut or anything we talked about?
Hey, Doc, thanks for having me up. It was a pleasure to be on your panel again. And I understand the gentleman just next to you is your brother.
That's my brother.
Hello.
Pleasure to talk with you as well, and obviously to talk with the other gentleman on the panel. It was interesting. You mentioned the relationship, Charles, between Ray and his father. The most arresting scene to me in the movie was when his father dies. And not just the way he dies, but he dies looking at him. He doesn't die. And I'm glad they presented it that way. He didn't die screaming or writhing in pain or anything like that, which obviously that would have been a brutal experience to have physically. But he just dies sort of looking at him as he's dying. It's just something about that scene that, referring back to what Charles noted about the relationship between a black father and son, it's something that just kind of resonates in me. I kind of have continually visualized that scene after seeing the movie. Something about that just kind of sticks with me. Thing that stood out to me, but several things stood out to me in the movie was, to me, the people who got presented the best in the movie were the Amazons.
Oh,
The Amazons were complete and total badasses in that movie. And let me tell you that the chick that's playing Hippolyta, who I understand is like, I guess in her 50s, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, that thing, man, that chick is holding, man. That chick is holding frame, man. I think her name is Connie Neeson. She was the chick that was in Gladiator.
She's Gladiator.
That was 20 years ago. And that was 20 years ago, and she looks almost as good as she looked back then. I mean, damn, you know.
She's in she's in The Devil's Advocate. She's the redhead.
Yeah, she was in The Devil's Advocate. I forgot about that. Yeah, wow, she was the sister, devil's sister or whatever. Yeah. She's something. Well,
Black Yoda. Well, Black Yoda. Let me tell you this: the super soldier serum is real.
Apparently, she is nice. She is nice. So yeah, the Amazons really is interesting. The Amazons were, you know, Steppenwolf pretty much plows through the Atlanteans with impunity, but they really make a point of showing the Amazons represent, you know, in their fight. Now, I think it's interesting. I think that was like a slight sort of, I don't want to say feminist, but there definitely was some energy towards presenting the Amazons a certain type of way in that movie that was being emphasized. Because if I recall correctly, the Amazons initiate the charge against Darkseid. If you look at the timing of the movie, the very first entree or approach towards Darkseid is initiated by Hippolyta. You know, so it's just some interesting touches in the movie that I observe. I can't judge it from the perspective of you guys who are much more knowledgeable about the canon of DC, especially.
Well, if you've been fighting for 100,000 years, you should be able to kick some ass.
I guess.
You should be. I don't care who you are. Like it's funny. Like on a team, the best hand-to-hand combatants are Batman and Wonder Woman, and I would probably give a slight edge to Wonder Woman because she's like 3,000 years old. So to give you a time aspect, when she was a kid on the island, she was already 800 years old.
Yeah.
So you're telling me, with all that training, you ain't got nothing to do but soak up sun, swim, and learn how to fight. You should know something.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I hadn't really thought about the duration of the training. Yeah, I guess that.
It's funny because when I look at the scenes, and I didn't like. If you ever noticed, there's no. This is something that I've also noticed in DC versus Marvel. In Marvel, you never see a female character defeated by a male character.
That's very true. At least not straight away, you know.
Not straight by themselves.
Yeah.
But in DC, when Wonder Woman tried to stand up to Superman, you know, the headbutt for justice, you know, prevailed.
The only thing that's comparable to that is
he was like, there's levels to this shit. Boom!
The only thing comparable to that is that wondrous scene in the first couple of episodes of the Punisher in that restroom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was a brutal scene. when I saw that, I'll tell you this one. When I saw that, I was like, I went to see Justice League with a coworkers of mine, right? And some were female. And when I saw that scene, I was giggling like a schoolgirl. You couldn't get me to not laugh for 5 minutes.
You think they knew why? You think they knew why, Charles?
They all looked at me, and I suspect they probably did. I was like, not so wonderful now, huh? I was like, no matter what you say, no matter what you think about Superman, that headbutt was for us.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Also the scene where the I guess the old gods take down Darkseid. I thought it was an interesting scene. I thought it was a bit one-sided, though. I would have liked to see Darkseid get a couple of licks in, so to speak.
Yeah, I like that whole sequence too with the old gods. It was funny. It was interesting too, seeing like Zeus, and my first thought is like, oh, there's Wonder Woman's dad.
Yeah,
and he's so much bigger than what's her name? His mother, her mother. And I'm like,
Polita.
I can't.
Yeah, the logistics of that you would think would be
difficult.
Although Zeus, in all fairness, is
shapeshift. So yeah.
Well, Amazon's like their the weapons, bigger than them.
She is an Amazon. I'm sure she can handle it.
Apparently.
But Zeus is a shapeshifter, so maybe he could shrink or turn into a duck or whatever, or shower of gold, whatever he does.
Sure.
I mean, but is it just me or Ares did Darkseid dirty? God almighty. He did. I kind of wish they would have.
He messed him up.
I wish they would have fleshed out the character a little bit more, because they're like, wait a minute. You took out Darkseid. We're gonna have to get some more magical creatures for this book.
Yeah, I was looking at Ares, and I'm thinking of the Wonder Woman movie, and I'm like, where's that big burly mustache she had in the Wonder Woman movie? He was that English guy.
David Thewlis, the Harry Potter guy.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, I'll have to go back and watch that scene again, that fight scene.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I was disappointed with Ares in that Wonder Woman movie too. I remember, he showed up, and the Ares get up at the end of the movie, and he was just like, "Oh, it's just this tasty little English guy." And then this guy in Justice League is this behemoth. I'm like, why didn't he turn into this dude?
Yeah, and I actually followed the guy on Instagram who's Zeus, the bodybuilding guy.
God, yeah, that guy's huge.
He that's a man. That's a man. And it's funny, but shout out to J.K. Simmons, the only person in history to exist in 3 different comic book universes. Wow. How do you get to be J.J. Jonasson in Marvel, Commissioner Gordon in DC, and Omni-Man in Image?
Right. That's true. All that Invincible cartoon is fantastic too.
I love it. I actually have the autograph copy from Kirkland.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I remember reading that first volume and going, "Man, this is gonna make a great show one day." I was happy seeing J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon. He looks exactly like Jim Aparo drew him, Commissioner Gordon from the '80s, from when I was a little kid. He even had that little bit curl on his hair and everything. It was cool. All he was missing was his pipe.
Wow. Okay.
Charles,
go ahead.
I was saying it was actually a joy to see a lot of the little things that we normally don't get to see in comic book movies, because we actually saw the fight between Darkseid and the Green Lantern, and yeah, I think we're gonna need a new Green Lantern. But it was nice touch where you saw like I guess he was a Usex or whatever his name was previously before Darkseid. And it was a nice touch to see he was powerful, but the guy that we know as Darkseid is like thousands of times, if not millions of times more powerful than that. And when you actually get to see Apocalypse, that one scene where, Diana took a little bit off the top and you see his head rolling in perfect Darkseid fashion. He just steps on the head and crushes his horn. And you can see the Justice League looking through the boom tube. I don't care how badass you think you are. You know not to go through that boom tube either.
Yeah.
An interesting touch. You notice that when the only time Steppenwolf removes his armor is in the presence of Darkseid.
Yes.
There's something about that, that scene that really strikes me is, that degree of slavish deference, and it's immediate because it's almost in the scene does he appear to not know that Darkseid is about to appear, although apparently the parademons do, because they begin to bow before Darkseid actually appears. But as soon as Darkseid appears and Steppenwolf observes that, his armor begins to recede. I thought that was a very interesting depiction of deference, to, his master.
Yeah, and it's crazy because in comic book lore, Darkseid is his nephew.
Is his nephew? Yeah. Yeah, that's the interesting part too. Yeah.
Okay.
Although they do mention that he betrayed his family. That's what DeSax says that he betrayed it.
And it seems like they like if you read the old Jack Kirby comics and the comics in general, the Apocalyptians all look like people except for like Darkseid, and Calabac looked kind of like an ogre. But in these movies, they seem to be like a species almost. They're like, because Darkseid, Calabac, and Steppenwolf all look like they're the same species. So they all have like that kind of rocky thing going on. But then Granny Goodness shows up too, and it's just some old lady on suit of armor, so who knows?
Yeah.
She looks like the
I
lady
see
from the
Granny
Facts of
Goodness.
Life. She looks like the lady from the Facts of Girls.
Girls.
That would be funny. That would be funny if they could get somebody to do that. I would be down if I see she does that.
I love Granny Goodness.
Oh, you talk about a sadistic person. Like no matter what iteration of Granny Goodness. Like I think Granny Goodness is the reason why I do not like orphanages.
Well, there's there's a character. Was it Doris Umbridge or whatever in the Harry Potter? Like that new principal that shows up at the school and is like has this really pleasant demeanor, but is just evil to the children. I remember watching. Oh, it's like Granny Goodness. I love Granny Goodness. Just because you know what I'm talking.
I remember reading those. I remember reading those comic books when they first came out. That's how old I am. And Granny's Goodness always freaked me out, right? Just the way that Jack Kirby drew her, very masculine. That always just kind of skeeved me out a little bit. I'm like, what is he trying to do here? Although I guess these days, that would be perfectly okay. But
yeah.
Well, guys, we're up on an hour and a half.
It was down that super.
What'd you say, Tony?
Yeah. Well, Superman cartoon voice.
You chopped
There
up
are.
just a little bit.
On Superman. Oh. No, I was saying that Ed Asner played Granny Goodness on the Superman show. She was hilarious.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, we're up on an hour and a half. I don't want to hold you all evening here. We're transitioning to evening here on the East Coast. So I'm gonna open up for parting comments. I want to be cognizant of your schedules and stuff. So, do you guys have any closing words on what we talked about today?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
In most of these movies, we see the heroes overpower the villains. In the first two Alien movies, we got to see Sigourney Weaver as Ripley outsmart the villain. So, in Close Contact, Ripley overcame two xenomorphs just by outsmarting them. I would like to see in some of these movies the heroes outsmart the villains. I think when they encounter Dr. Zoom, Sinestro, if Lex comes back, they just can't overpower them. They're going to have to outsmart them. That's my take.
Okay, thank you. More. Anyone else? Uru, Charles?
Yeah, I'll say thanks again for having me on the panel. Yeah, I guess you guys touched on it before, so maybe I'll ask to maybe clarify for myself. I mean, I guess where are they going to go from here? I mean, especially given how the movie ended and all of the layers associated with that. It was sort of a hell of a way to end the movie, with there being questions as to, what direction things are going to go in, if they are going to go in any direction at all. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes, if it goes. Maybe because of what has happened to the industry in the advent of COVID, I think maybe unfortunately that may have impacted the enthusiasm for a lot of expensive cinematic projects. So maybe it may be a casualty of that. I don't know, but I'm hoping to see that the story does continue. So, thanks again.
Well, I'll say this. Nobody knows. We'll just pray that they ride the wave of the Snyderverse and let the man continue working some magic, because he is a genius. It's always a pleasure, Dr. D. Got to do another back in the cop session again. And as always, everybody loves those, by the way. I will end this one. Isn't it such a great time to be a comic book fan? Like, who would think that we get to sell this stuff, pan out in live action? Hell, even animation, I never thought we'll see some of this stuff. Once again, it's nice to meet you fellas. It's nice to meet the brother of the man that's sitting next to the man, sitting next to the man, sitting next to the goddamn man. It's nice to meet the rest of you as well. Today, I'm actually cleaning up the house a little early so I can actually get my lazy ass up. I'm gonna go back to the cigar lounge. I took Mr. Anwar up there, and he enjoyed himself. We had some nice talks and some nice, my boy Darren, he always said, man, yeah, he said, dude, he's like, Dr. Dunbar, that man cool as hell, man. He's like, cool as hell. So he enjoyed the pleasure. So if anybody's in Baltimore, the Baltimore area, just holler at me. We'll take you to the cigar lounge and treat you real nice in here. Woo! Later, folks.
All right. Thanks, Charles.
Take care, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
All right. Tony and Matt, you guys have any parting?
Yeah, I will say this. I will say that the movie is good enough that I would love to see sequels, and it's also bad enough that I wouldn't mind if they just reboot the whole thing.
Wow. Okay. Tony?
That's about it.
I agree with Matt. Per usual, I agree with him on that 100%. I just want to see more of the Darkseid stuff. Honestly, at the end of the day, I just want to make one of these or write one of them and be able to put my own stamp on them. These characters are a big reason why. These characters are a big reason why I make movies and try to tell stories and stuff. But I enjoyed it. I wish Batman wasn't so murdery in these movies. I really hate seeing Batman kill people or drive around in a Batmobile with machine guns on it. It just irks me every single time. Batman's greatest enemy is death. That's what he's fighting against. He lost his parents when he was a little boy, and that has framed his psyche. And his whole thing has been about, an anti-gun stance. In the comics, since the 40s, he doesn't use them. And just to see the character use them in the movies, I hate it. I really just hate it. And I'd really like to see Batman's cape flap around the front like it did when I was a kid, instead of always being behind his back. I don't know. That's just me. I always say he looks cool when he looks mysterious. And I'd like to see Superman smile every now and then. That would be nice. Wonder Woman's great. The Flash is great. Cyborg's great. Aquaman's Aquaman. He's entertaining. But I'd really like to see Superman smile. But I hope I'd like to see this story at least get wrapped up. You can't just end them. You just can't end this series of movies on a friggin' cliffhanger. That's just too much. But anyways, I'm looking forward to the Flash movie because I want to see Michael Keaton again, even though he killed up. So there you go. This was fun.
Well, didn't the Christian Bale Batman, doesn't he have a rule that he's not going to kill anybody?
Yeah, the Christian Bale Batman has a rule that he's not going to kill anybody, but still he drives around in that tank down the street, killing how many people, and he blows up that ninja factory in Tibet. And how many people died in that? And he's like, oh, and he goes to Ra's al Ghul, and he goes, he's like, I don't have to. I'm not going to kill you, but I'm not going to save you. Whatever the hell he says. And he just kills him. So I don't know what the... And his Batmobile's got cannons on it, so I don't know where his no gun rule comes from. But
he's got scuba face through the whole thing.
I'm Batman. That's because I'm good. Falcone has a shipment of drugs coming in. Shut up.
Oh man. You know what? This interview is going to be an NFT, because between now and Justice League 2 and Justice League 3, Warner Brothers executives and anybody associated with the Zack Snyder team, they can watch this and go, wow, these guys had some good ideas.
Actually, we got a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Well, guys,
let's get together after the Flash movie.
Okay.
Definitely. Definitely.
So that's where he goes to meet Michael Keaton, right? Michael Keaton, Batman.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's do it again.
We can do whatever you want.
All right. Well, I'll take you up on that.
All right, guys.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
All right. I really enjoyed this. So everyone,
and yes, watch Space Detective.
Hold on.
Here we go. There we go.
I still have it queued up here. So everyone, this is Space Detective Movie.com, www.spacedetectivemovie.com. It's not just Space Detective. That's going to take you someplace else. But yeah, go to this website and learn some more about Shiro and Jinx and Karina Dawn and those kinds of things. T-shirts, apparel, all that's there. So
thank you for the plug. We appreciate it.
No problem. All right, everyone. If you're watching on the playback, please like, share, subscribe. As always, remember your attitude determines your altitude. Tony, you said something after the last time I did that when I interviewed you guys. You said, "Have a wonderful space day." It was like you planned it. But all right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.
All right, guys. Peace.
See you next time.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, man. Later, buddy.
Later, guys. It's good to see you.
You too, man.
Hey, bro. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
That's cool. Thanks.
Yeah, bro. After last week meeting the aunties, it was like training. I needed to be